Hello and welcome to the Daily Dose. My name is Trent Jenkins, and I'm excited about this particular week's series, which is going to be I Am. We're reviewing some of the I Am statements that Jesus made in the book of John. We've covered 5 in our weekend messages so far, and we're going to be covering 4 of them this upcoming week. So I've got a question for you. Is there anything that you're just dependent on that you can't live without? You didn't know how much you needed it, and then all of a sudden you're dependent. I know some friends of mine, they're like, the air fryer. It's like changed my world. Or maybe it's a water pick, cleaning your teeth. Hey, clean teeth is a good thing, right? Or maybe it's your Stanley Cup. I know, all these ladies, they have the Stanley Cup. It's like, I never knew how much I needed it until I got it. Or maybe it's just the real practical things of like, I will not wake up without an alarm clock. Or I know I need my fuel. And there's a reality of the real sustenance of food and water. Or for me, coffee in the morning. So important. I've got to have these things to sustain myself. But Jesus proclaims that he is the one to sustain you in John chapter 6. He says this. He says, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never go hungry, and whoever believes in me will never be thirsty. You see, just before this passage, he's describing to the disciples that, hey, Moses came and you are saying that he gave you manna from heaven, but that was my Father. And my Father is now giving you a new bread from heaven, and that's me. You see, they had this manna in the book of Exodus as they exited out of Egypt and into the desert that they were starving. And they said, what are we supposed to do? Are we going to starve to death? And God said, I'm going to give you something to sustain you. And so he gave them manna. And so they go out every morning and collect this manna, which was like flakes. And they would end up making it and kneading it into bread with some water. And they would bake it. And that's what would sustain them. Day after day, week after week, they were sustained by the Lord in the midst of their desert. And God's saying, through his Son, I'm giving you a new bread that will sustain you. You see, there's all these world religions because ultimately we have this craving inside of ourselves in our spiritual nature to know that we need something spiritual in our lives. We try to stuff this hole in our life with so many different things, whether it's different forms of religion or whether it's filling it and acquiring with things or knowledge. But Jesus is saying, I am going to be the only thing that will really fulfill you in this area. So will you depend on me? So I got a question for you today and a question for myself of how dependent am I on God, his Son, his Word, and the Holy Spirit? Can I go about my day just like every other day and get by and it seems like I don't need him? You see, sometimes there's those elements in life that we get it and all of a sudden we realize, I don't know how we ever lived without this before. There's those first moments where you turned on your new smartphone device and you had this digital map that would now take you everywhere. Remember those old Thompson guides that we used to go around, we flip pages to, or maps that we would try to figure out, and now the map changed everything. Well, in life, we're constantly trying to navigate it. We're trying to constantly figure out how it is that we should go about our day. But if we just tune into the words of Jesus Christ, he's like, I've got it for you. I've got the wisdom. I've got the knowledge. I want to help you move through this life and into eternity. But will you depend on me? Will you let me sustain you? Jesus says, I am the bread of life. Church, let's get dependent on him. And when we do, all of a sudden, so many of the cravings that we have in life will dissipate because he is our true source. Have a good day.